You are listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 207. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where we talk about what really happens when you take a break from drinking. And it turns out to be the best thing you've ever done. I'm Anna, coach to high achievers who are done waking up with regret and ready to feel in control around alcohol. If you've ever wondered what your life could look like with less wine and more you, you're in the right place. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad you are here today. Now today, we are going to dive into a topic that I think sits right at the heart of why so many people, so many high achievers, so many of the wonderful, brilliant people who I work with drink more than they want to, or I should say end up drinking more than they want to, right? This is not something we set out to do. And this topic is discomfort avoidance. It's the quiet, automatic instinct to step away from anything that feels tense or overwhelming or awkward. And it's a little pull, right, towards relief. It's the thought that says, I just need something to take the edge off. So that is what we are going to be covering today, right? If this sounds familiar, I just want to reassure you right now, nothing has gone wrong. Your brain is simply designed to avoid discomfort and move towards discomfort. Think of it like this. In those moments when you're telling yourself things like, I just need a drink to take the edge off, your brain is trying to help. So that's what we're going to cover today. But before we do that, first a little advertisement here, it being Black Friday week. Yesterday, I put something out that is the Holiday Freedom Bundle. This is a bundle of goodies, of tools, some meditations in there. There's some worksheets, there's some audios, there's some recordings of masterclasses I've done. That's there to support you through this period if you find that, the drinking all just gets a little bit too much. So that is there for you. It is available only this week, only until the 1st of December. At that point, at midnight on that day, like Cinderella's carriage, it will just disappear. So this is something that you want. You want to have, it's a bit like having me beside you in packaged form, granted. Over the holidays, you can go ahead and get that. I've included the link in the show notes for that. All right, so let's get started here on this topic of discomfort avoidance. Let's firstly identify what it really is. Now, at its simplest, discomfort avoidance is the habit of moving away from anything that feels unpleasant. Right? This could be tension in your chest. It could be when you just feel a bit down in the dumps. You could feel irritated. There could be some mental chatter, or maybe you've just got this sense of being stretched thin. Very common at this time of year, right? Where we want the holidays to be wonderful, even though we're not there yet. We're in the run up to it. Now, in all of these scenarios, in fact, in every scenario in your life, your brain has one singular job: to keep you safe. And because discomfort feels unpredictable or unfamiliar, your brain treats this as a potential threat, right? This is why moments of discomfort, often people say that it triggers the desire to drink, because wine feels fast, it feels familiar, it feels welcoming, it gives an immediate sense of relief, and your brain goes ahead and says, yep, that works. I'm all up for that. Let's do that again. So that over time, the link between discomfort and drinking gets stronger, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is doing its job. Let me give you a real life example. I went through this so many times. I want you to imagine you get home from work after a long day. You're tired. You've been fielding requests and solving problems and answering emails all day, right? You've been biting your tongue all day as well. Just being polite and just getting through the day. And then you walk into the kitchen, you open the fridge, and the thought appears, a glass of wine sounds good. Or maybe you don't even know you're having that thought, but you're taking the action of pouring a glass of wine. Now, on the surface, yes, it looks like you want wine. Anybody observing a picture, if they were taking a movie, took some recording of you walking into the kitchen, that's what it looks like. But underneath, that thought, whatever thought is there, and again, you might not see it to start with, there is a moment of discomfort. Maybe you feel wired or empty, or maybe you feel resentful, right? Resentment is flowing through your veins. I've had a hard day, now I've got to cook dinner and I've got to do all this prep for Christmas. Maybe you feel overstimulated, maybe you feel flat, right? All of these feelings, they all kind of count. So then the discomfort arrives because of this, right? Because of all these feelings, and they might pile in one after the other. Now listen, you have not been taught what to do with this. We are not taught that as humans. So what happens is your brain is going to send you towards the fastest relief option it knows. And because the option works, the pattern repeats. And for me, it was the Chablis, right? That is the first, quickest way to just that, right? That sense of relief. So this is how that habit forms. Now, when we're talking about discomfort and avoiding it, I just wanted to outline, I see there being three main types of discomfort that people try to avoid. And I say try because really, at the end of the day, there's going to be some discomfort. So at some point, you're going to come face to face with it. You're not going to be able to avoid it however much you try. So the three specific kinds of discomfort I find that drive the most unwanted drinking are what I'm going to call cognitive discomfort. This is the mental version of it, right? The chatter in your mind, the buzzing thoughts, the endless to-do lists, decision fatigue. We're making decisions again and again and again. And then when it comes to drinking, we're remaking the decision. Am I going to drink? Am I not? Should I? Shouldn't I? I already said I wasn't going to, but now I want to, right? All of that. And then we have this cognitive desire for an off switch. I wrote a book on this, right? This does the thing, I just want to have that off switch, which, by the way, we can build for ourselves. Read the book and you will find out. So what happens is when your mind feels too full, it's really racing with all these thoughts. Wine feels like the quickest way to just shut it off. It's like, I just don't want to hear those thoughts anymore. So that's the first type. Then I frequently see emotional discomfort. And these are really the feelings that most of us were never taught how to feel, right? We feel stressed, we feel bored, we feel frustrated or lonely or anxious or restless. Many of my clients are brilliant at managing responsibilities, but don't know how to be with their own emotions. And when any of these come up, and when multiples of these come up, and they might come up all together, right? We might, at the end of the day, feel frustrated and stressed, but bored and lonely because maybe we're on our own that evening, right? These can all pile in and we don't know how to handle them. So instead we escape them, which is something we have learned how to do. And then the final flavor of discomfort as I see it, is what I call action discomfort. This is where discomfort that shows up when we come down to taking a different action, or when we avoid that and we sit in inaction, right? So we know the action we want to take or we need to take, or we would really want to choose to take, but we're not doing it. So this might be following a drink plan, saying no at a social event. This might be stopping at one glass. This might be starting and deciding on an alcohol-free evening. This might be pouring a smaller amount. The discomfort that we get from this action or inaction feels very physical, right? It almost feels like some form of resistance or pressure. Your brain is in that moment wanting the old choice of taking the action it already knows and likes, such as pouring the wine, or avoiding, right, not taking, sort of sitting in inaction. So I could either sit here and not do the thing, I could sit here and not do the drink plan, or I could do the drink plan. It's going to want to sit and not do the drink plan. I just want you to know this, right? This is how we are programmed. And it's because that feels certain and safe. We are avoiding the discomfort by doing that. But avoidance backfires, right? This is where things get tricky, especially when we are in the realm, as I'm sure you are, in fact, you must be if you're listening to my podcast, we're in the realm of wanting to create a different life for ourselves, a new reality, right? Avoiding discomfort helps us for the moment when we're in that, oh, should I, shouldn't I? but it is going to create more discomfort over time. It is not going to get you to where you want to be, because every time you escape a feeling, that feeling becomes something to fear. Oh, here's that embarrassment again. Didn't want to do it last time. I didn't learn how to handle it last time, so I'm just going to drink over it again, right? The next time it shows up, it feels even bigger. It feels heavier, more urgent, more difficult. And this happens with the emotions. This happens with the thoughts. Oh, there's that thought again that I'm not going to be able to do this. Yeah, and I wasn't able to do it last time, so I'm sure I'm not able to do it this time. Right? All of this happens, and then what happens is avoidance also trains your brain that whenever this comes up, right, we're going to train the brain to expect instant relief by way of alcohol. Right? So the desire to drink becomes more automatic, because the more that we sit in this discomfort or come face to face with it, we teach ourselves we're not able to handle it. We teach ourselves that the solution, quote, in air quotes, is to have a drink. And this isn't because you're broken. Again, it's just because your brain is learning from repetition. And the more you do this, the more you learn, the more you teach yourself that when I feel uncomfortable, when any of these flavors of discomfort come along, the way I handle that is with a drink. And then your tolerance for discomfort gets lower and lower and lower. Your brain is going to seek the opportunities to have a drink because the brain likes it. Right? So we're going to say, oh, I can't handle that. And then things maybe you thought you could handle, you see yourself as less capable. So I want to add a piece that most people never think about when we get into this. I want to really bring the concept of that sense of accomplishment into this area. I want you to think of a time when you did something that you really didn't want to do. Something that maybe you didn't think you could do, you didn't know you could do, something that was really uncomfortable. Maybe it was having a difficult conversation, or maybe tackling a task you had been avoiding, right? When you did that, I want you to think it probably felt awful at the start. You probably wanted to talk yourself out of it a number of times. I mean, I remember those times when I'm going to have a conversation, this conversation X with someone, and you might start walking towards them, and then you'll pause and you go and grab a cup of tea. You think about it again, and you might have a number of false starts, so to speak. And yet you went ahead and did it. And when it was done, you felt, how did you feel? Right? Proud is normally what I hear. You felt competent. You felt a surge of accomplishment. You didn't feel that way because what you did was easy. You felt that way because you knew you were doing something that felt challenging. We feel less accomplishment from things we already know how to do, right? So if you've been driving, yes, a driving story, for 20 years, then you get in the car and you drive to your friend's house, you probably wouldn't think anything. You wouldn't think, yeah, go me. I just did that. But let's even say you've been driving for 20 years and then you drive across London, or you across Milan or something. You do something that is quite challenging for you. You might then you are likely to feel a sense of accomplishment, right? Because accomplishment comes from crossing a threshold of discomfort. That's how I like to think of it. This is dopamine at work, right? This is dopamine. It's rewarding effort. It's rewarding you learning. It's rewarding you in progressing. This is the same dopamine, right? So we talk about dopamine, the dopamine we get, that big dopamine hit with a glass of wine. But we have that sense of dopamine with accomplishment. And this same dopamine response is available to you when you follow your drink plan, maybe when you let an urge come and go, when you stay present instead of pouring a glass, when you practice one small alcohol-free evening, even 10 minutes on an evening, I'm going to be alcohol-free to start with. And you prove to yourself you can feel the feeling, you can identify the feeling and feel it. This is how you build confidence, right? Not from being perfect, but from it's ways like breaching discomfort and noticing that you survived it. You almost might want to think of it like that, right? Because that's certainly how the brain is thinking. This is all about survival. So the skill becomes not avoiding discomfort. So what do we do instead of escaping it, right? When we escape and we avoid, we learn to allow it to be there. Now, this does not mean enjoying it, right? You're probably likely not going to enjoy feeling embarrassed or feeling anxious. But there's a difference between that and escaping it. And allowing means it gives yourself room to feel something without reacting to it. Here's a way to practice it. When you're in this scenario, right, you can see there's a feeling coming up. Maybe you're feeling restless at the end of the day. I want you to take one breath. I want you to stay curious rather than go panicked. Then name the discomfort. How are you feeling? Are you tired? Are you feeling overwhelmed, lonely, bored? Notice where that sits, and then ask what the real need is beneath the urge for wine that you're feeling. Right? And remind yourself that discomfort is safe and temporary. As you're doing this, I want you to give yourself a short alcohol-free window to let the feeling pass. Especially in the early days, you may not even notice this is happening. And it might be too much to say, okay, I'm just not going to have a drink while I feel this way. Just give yourself a few minutes breathing space just to notice this before you take any action. Because this is a skill you're learning. You're improving a muscle. You're going to build it through small moments like these. And every time you allow a feeling, instead of avoiding it or escaping through wine or beer, you're going to strengthen your capacity. So really want you to have this reframe. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is not the enemy. Avoidance is the enemy. You are already someone who can handle discomfort. You've done it many, many times. We are built as humans to be able to do this. You have likely lived through far bigger challenges than craving a glass of wine or having a restless evening. So when you learn how to feel your feelings, you're going to stop needing wine to manage them. Right? You're going to stop fearing the urges. You're going to see them as opportunities to practice. You're going to stop fearing disappointment, boredom, anxiety, all of that stuff. Right? You're going to stop telling yourself you can't do this. This is how you become someone who feels free with alcohol, not because your life becomes picture perfect, but because you know how to handle the discomfort. You're someone who chooses with intention, no matter if there's going to be discomfort on the other end. And you're going to become someone who actually enjoys the moments when they do drink. Think about this, right? Because you're drinking not to escape your life. You're drinking because you set an intention that I'm going to choose to have a drink then. And it's not because I need to fill any void in my emotional experience. So that is what I had for you this week. If you're listening, if you're nodding along and you're saying, yeah, I know all this stuff, and you're having maybe some success by implementing my podcasts, I want you to think at how rocket fueled that will be if you work with me one-on-one. So I want you to reach out and book a discovery call with me. We will chat about where you are, about where you want to be, and I will build for you on the call step by step the way to get you there. You will leave the call with information whether you decide to work with me or not. And I always want to speak with people before we work together just to make sure we're a good fit. So go ahead and do that. Their link is in the show notes, or go to 90dayslater.co and there's a book a call button on the top of the window. And secondly, remember, right now I have my Holiday Freedom Bundle available. I will also include the link to that in the show notes. This is a bundle of goodies that will help you through the time of the holidays to so that you're not feeling, just got to have a drink, right, to get through this. That is available from now until midnight on the 1st of December. It's not going to be available anytime after that. All right, that's everything for now, and thank you for listening. Lovely to have your company here, and I will see you next week. If this episode hit home and you're ready to explore what life could look like with alcohol in the back seat, let's talk. I work with people one-on-one who are ready to create the relationship with alcohol that works for them, so they feel powerful in their choices and at peace with their habits. Go to 90dayslater.co and click on book a call, or grab one of the free guides in the show notes to this episode. And if this podcast is helping you A rating or review goes a long way to help others find this work too.